Right.
Hi, my name's Sue Ellum, and I'm a professional tarot reader and have been for about 25 years now. And I use the Mythic Tarot, which is based on Greek mythology.
Hi, I'm Carrie Bellino, intuitive Reiki master teacher, spiritual life coach. And if you were watching yesterday, you know that I had two questions attached to me, one between my fingers and another one weirdly attached to my hand. So I don't know if they're totally connected to each other or not. I haven't read it yet. And maybe they are meant for those of you who were watching yesterday. Not sure. We'll find out in a second. So here's the question, Sue. Okay, if you can connect this, go for it. I hear things about our shadow side, in quotes. What is it, and is it real?
Oh. Well, let's see what the cards say and see if willpower comes into it. Can you repeat the question a second, please?
Yes. I hear things about our shadow side. What is it, and is it real?
Okay. Okay. This is new ideas, and this particular page, the Page of Swords, can be quite malicious. It's a bit mischievous as well. It's like, look at what's under this stone. It's also gossipy. It's like being around people with gossip, and our shadow side is that element of us, that kind of gossipy, the mischievous, the digging up of the dirt, as it were. This is where we are, but it's juvenile in some respects as well. It's not an adult. It hasn't grown up yet, so it's still got this very teenage energy. And I'm not calling teenagers juvenile. Forgive me if any teenagers are watching out there, but it really is about mischief. And so, relating to our shadow side, we need to keep our own counsel. We need not to tell people things that, or just blurt out things which can be gossipy. We need to keep quiet. If we have gossipy or malicious thoughts, especially when we've just gone through something and then we are just wanting to hit out, at that time, don't tell people, because you might feel differently tomorrow, but the words are out, and your shadow self would have risen to the fore, and people can then remind you that you said this, you said that, and it can take over and take you down an unpleasant route for a while, especially if you've said something about a person in anger. They've hurt you, even whether they meant to or not. You can say something in anger, then someone else might go back to that person and tell them, and then it creates this kind of nasty circle, which could be avoided if you'd kept your base. I suppose the shadow side is your baser instincts, and by using by keeping your baser instincts kind of to yourself until you've got over that, then that is the best advice that I can give. This card here says, listen to what your inner voice is telling you, not what other people are telling you, because this can again create. Our shadow side is so just below the surface. It's a bit like the horizon, and it can kind of rise up easily, and it can also go down so it's invisible. But being around other people with their opinions, especially if they have negative opinions, then to be part of that community, then that draws out that kind of element within ourselves. So, and then suddenly, if we're with loving people, the things that we say with these people are suddenly, the loving and kind of giving people will suddenly say, well, why did you say that? That was, but because, we've taken on board, and it becomes normal. The thing is, gossip, and I mean, look at the tabloids, for heaven's sake. Everything, digging up people's secrets, exposing people, their private lives, everything like that. This is very much an element of the shadow, of trying to keep people down, trying to shame them, guilt them. There's this woman, Amanda, I can't remember her full name, and she actually challenged the shadow side of a paper here in the UK. It's called the Daily Mail. And she actually,
that's a rag. No, go ahead.
Yeah. Anyway, she had been singing at Glastonbury, and she's got a great support. Really, she gives her music for free, and but people let her sleep on the sofas, and she's got this really strong community of people that really love her. So she was at Glastonbury singing, and while she was singing, one of her breasts came out. So next day in the Daily Mail, it said it was all about the exposure of a breast, So she wrote a song. So she comes onto the stage in this kind of kimono, and her song was Dear Daily Mail. She said, and I was doing all these songs, but all you could write about was that my breast came out to see the rare English sun, And she said, and if you kind of Googled me, you realize that I'm not bothered about showing body parts and things like that. Halfway through the song, she took off the kimono and she was stark naked, absolutely stark naked. And it was nothing lewd or anything. She just said, it's a female body. What's the big deal? And I bet you anything that the Daily Mail or papers, they won't try that with her again, because it's like she faced it, and that was that. So this is me, that I had a great admiration for her, because that was directly challenging the shadow side of society that is trying to shame people, humiliate them. There's some people have done bad things, and they need to be exposed to stop them doing more bad things to people. But it's important, going back to this card, don't listen to other people's opinions. Follow what feels right for you inside. And that will create a lot more energy and imagination, ready to go off in pursuit of a vision. It frees you, because you might be the person that people suddenly try to shame. And if you don't pay attention to that, if you don't pay attention to the shame, the bullying, the guilt, or whatever people think they've got on you, if you can be kind to yourself, realize even if you have done something that's been a bit questionable, forgive yourself for it, apologize if you need to, but don't take it as a life burden, because as soon as people know that they can humiliate you and it works, they will keep doing it. Like my dad used to say, sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. That was one of the old sayings. I don't know if it's still is used today, but by keeping your own inner core, your own sense of self, your own sense of self-esteem, I suppose, in a way, you're going to have the energy, the imagination, you're able to go out there and not worry. I think I've mentioned before that there was a quote that, what is it? When you don't care what anybody else thinks, that is true freedom. And that's really very much about it. There's also a sense of confusion here. You know, when the shadow side kind of raises its head, it does confuse, because again, we're trying to, well, a lot of us are trying to be the very best that we can be. And it's difficult, because even if you're on a real spiritual path, sometimes something happens and you get anger about what somebody else has done, or especially if you can see they're doing so many terrible things to people, and there's this kind of this disgust, this judgment, and it's a split second, and then we're confused. We thought we're on the spiritual path, we're meant to be kind of loving towards everybody, and yet this person, by exposing their shadow side, has brought up my shadow side, and now I've got to go back and work on myself again, you know. So it does cause a sense of confusion, and it's something that we have to, I think, accept the fact that we are human. We are going to just wish people weren't there, or get into judgment, because you know there's so much to judge these days, isn't there? It's hard not to be triggered, especially if it's something that's kind of relevant to something in our own lives. Fear and anxiety about the future ties up with guilt about the past. It's what I was saying before. We need to really tune in to our own our own self and our own self-esteem and self-respect, because if we don't, then we have this guilt about what we might have said which wasn't appropriate, or what you might have done, and oh crikey, I was really cruel, I was talking to so and so, what the person I was being cruel about, what if they hear about it, you know, I wish I hadn't said that, or you know, I know that someone's having an affair and I've told somebody else, what if I break up, what if I ruin their family, or there's all sorts of things, kind of one sentence that was said out of place to the wrong person can destroy lives. And we don't know why people are doing what they're doing. We don't know their circumstances, yet we've come out in judgment. We've said something to the wrong person. We've allowed our shadow side to dominate, and we can destroy lives that way. And then what do we do with the guilt of that? You know, people committed suicide for less. And what do we do when we know that our misspoken words, something maybe we're told in private, or maybe we were in the wrong place at the wrong time and saw something, and maybe it wasn't true, it was just our assumption, and we have gone, you know, to have that, you know, on our burden, and that will affect the rest of our lives. You know, I know this has got heavy, but this is a heavy subject. It's about the baser instincts and not letting them take control, because we ruin our own lives. Because how do you get past having been the instigator of destruction? Especially if you've got a conscience, you know, what do you do with that? The Wheel of Fortune will send things our way, which are opportunities, and we have to decide what we're going to do with them. They can come in different packages. They can come in opportunities to do good or opportunities to not. They can be opportunities that look exactly the way we would want them to look, and there's opportunities that look a bit ragged and we think, oh, maybe not. But take the opportunity and try, and I mean, our shadow side's always going to be with us. It's our twin. And it's up to us to decide whether we're going to let our twin be in control, or whether we're going to be in control, and we'll do our best to keep our twin kind of just private. so it can't do any harm out in the world. And those are the cards.
Thank you. So I'm so glad you mentioned baser instincts, because I see a lot in the new agey chit chat that says things about the shadow side being evil. And I just want to reiterate what Sue just offered, which is that the shadow side is not evil. It's part of being human. It's part of the emotional experience. It's part of learning how to operate in this evolutionary process that we're in right now, to operate from a place of love and not a place of fear. And when those baser instincts come up, like revenge or fear, impatience and anger, they and they're warranted. We're human. We are choosing to experience these scenarios that cause these emotions for a reason. They're leading us somewhere. But it's important that when you feel these emotions, this very human emotions, this shadow side, to ask yourself, if I act or react on those emotions, is it purposeful for the light? Meaning, does this action or reaction lift someone up or set someone free or set yourself free? Does it contribute to the positive? Or is it simply a revenge or a spouting of purge of the to the emotional trigger of these baser instincts? So that's kind of a question I want you to keep in the back of your mind. If you are either prone to those emotions, or you're in situations or are creating situations around yourself that allow those emotions to frequently visit. We all have them come up. There are all things, God knows, we're reading things in the news that probably make us angry every day, in which case, stop reading the news. But I love your story about that Amanda, Sue, because she fought, and it wasn't a fight, but she brought her light and her humanity and her song to a shadow side, which is an exact illustration of what I am trying to convey, which is to bring your light to the instincts that your shadow side will kind of prod you to react or act from. Let me just read over my notes. Yeah, also, there's also some talk out there, new agey, about facing your shadow side. I don't think you need to face it. It's there. We all have it. It's not something that's just special to you because you're extra evil. It doesn't exist. It is something that is within all of us. It's part of our humanity. You've had so many shadow people walk past your wall in this discussion. I've probably seen 4 or 5 of them now. And somebody else just ran right past when I said, face your shadow side. Don't do it. Don't waste your energy trying to figure out what your shadow side is and to try to defeat it. Understand that it's part of your humanity. Understand it is what makes us tick. It's what makes us special in this galaxy. And allow the intuition and the gut feeling and the inspiration to be the light and to be positive, overshadow or be the impetus for your actions and reactions. Yeah. So there was a lot swimming around in my head. I hope I spit it all out properly.
Yeah, it's interesting. Hope that's been of help.
We've got questions in the basket all about intuition and those kinds of questions. So stay tuned. We will get to all of them eventually.
We have as you said, a lot of questions and more coming. Okay.
Lots of guidance.
Okay. Thanks for joining us. Bye.
Please subscribe and share.